My wife poisoned my drink to get rid of me for good. Once I healed, I delivered revenge twice as brutal. The night my wife handed me a poisoned drink, she was wearing the red dress I bought her for our anniversary. She had lit candles. She had soft music playing. She looked me in the eyes and said, "I just want us to have a good night." And I took the glass from her hand, looked right back at her, and I drank it, because I already knew exactly what was in it, and I had been waiting for her to finally make her move. My name is Aaron, 42 years old, 11 years married, and the most dangerous thing I ever did was let people believe I was too trusting to see what was right in front of me. I need to go back a little, because this story doesn't make sense without the foundation. Elena and I met when I was 31. I was quiet, methodical, not the kind of man who filled up a room when he walked in. She was electric, the kind of woman who made everyone feel like the most interesting person alive, right up until she found someone more useful. I didn't see that part then. I saw ambition. I mistook the hunger for passion. Early in our marriage, I carried most of the financial weight without complaint. She moved between careers, marketing consultant, event planner, creative director of nothing specific, and I told myself it was just a matter of time before she found her footing. What I was actually doing was funding a lifestyle she felt she deserved, while she quietly decided I was beneath it. The small humiliations came gradually, the way water damage does. She'd laugh at something I said in front of friends, not with me, but at me, just slightly, just enough. She called my work Aaron's Spreadsheet World at dinner parties. She stopped inviting me to events until I asked directly. Then she'd act surprised, like she'd simply forgotten. None of it was dramatic enough to name. All of it was intentional. I know that now. The marriage cracked open 18 months ago. I came home early from a business trip, flight rerouted, no warning, and found a car in my driveway I didn't recognize. I won't paint the full picture of what I walked into, but I'll tell you this: I didn't make a sound. I stood in my own kitchen, completely still, listening, and I felt something inside me go absolutely cold. Not broken, not explosive, cold and clear, the way the air gets right before a storm organizes itself. I left without them knowing I was there, drove to a hotel, sat in the dark until nearly 4 in the morning, and somewhere in those hours, I made the decision that changed everything. I was not going to react. I was going to watch, and I was going to build. Over the following 6 weeks, I hired a private investigator, a former law enforcement contact I'd used twice professionally. What he brought back was thorough. The man in my house wasn't some random temptation. He and Elena had been involved for over a year. They traveled together on trips she told me were girlfriends' weekends. They shared a bank account she'd opened 9 months prior. And she had already met with a divorce attorney, not defensively, but strategically, specifically to map out how much of what I'd built she could legally take. I processed that quietly. Then I kept going to work. I kept making dinner. I kept sleeping in our bed. I became completely unreadable, and Elena, who had always underestimated how much I paid attention, never noticed the difference. Then my investigator flagged something that changed the temperature of everything. He'd found receipts, pulled from a bag Elena had thrown in the neighbor's recycling bin, 2 houses down, not ours. A specialty supplement retailer, a specific compound purchased in quantity that a toxicologist friend of mine confirmed could, in concentrated doses mixed into alcohol, mimic acute cardiac distress. It was metabolized quickly. In a standard emergency tox panel, it was easy to miss unless you knew to look for it. She wasn't just planning to leave me. She was planning to eliminate the problem entirely. I spent 48 hours sitting with that information. I spoke to my attorney. I spoke to the toxicologist again. I documented everything and had it all stored in a place Elena would never find. And then I went home and I waited. That Friday came 3 weeks later. She made drinks, whiskey sours, my usual, red dress, candles, that soft, rehearsed warmth she turned on when she needed something. She was nostalgic, talking about early memories, touching my arm. I remember thinking she was a genuinely gifted performer. I remember also thinking that must be a lonely way to live. I drank the glass. I'd already called my doctor that morning and given him the compound name, the dosage range, and told him to have the ER flagged. I had the toxicologist on standby. When the symptoms started, the pressure, the dizziness, the strange heaviness moving through my chest, I called 911 myself, calmly, and told them exactly what to test for. That call is the only reason I'm writing this instead of being a closed case. I spent 9 days in the ICU. 2 of those days were the kind where doctors speak in measured tones and your family drives through the night. My kidneys sustained real damage. There were hours I won't describe because I don't want to give them too much space in this story. What I will tell you is that through all of it, Elena was in that waiting room, weeping, receiving condolences, letting my sister hug her, performing grief so convincingly that several people told me afterward they'd never seen someone so devastated. I let her have every moment of it. I didn't say a word. I had my attorney on the phone from my hospital bed on day 4. By the time I was discharged, the machine was already moving. The expanded toxicology report, requested specifically by name based on my prior documentation, confirmed the compound. That report went to my attorney and then directly to the police. I had already legally restructured 3 investment accounts held solely in my name. I had transferred the deed discussion to my real estate attorney, and I had given law enforcement everything my PI had gathered over 6 weeks: the receipts, the travel records, the joint account, the attorney consultation. Elena was arrested on a Tuesday morning, 11 days after I walked out of that hospital. The moment she realized the full shape of what had happened, that I had known, that I had watched, that I had spent weeks quietly preparing while she thought she was the one holding all the cards, I saw it move across her face in stages. Confusion first, then the specific stomach-dropping understanding that she had been completely outmaneuvered by the man she had spent years treating like furniture. She said my name, just once, like she was hearing it for the first time. I didn't respond. I walked out, and I did not look back. The criminal case is still working through the system. Her attorney has made 2 attempts to reach me through back channels, mutual friends, a former colleague of hers. Both times I let my attorney respond. I have nothing to say to her and no interest in a conversation that would only benefit her narrative. The man from my driveway vanished the moment a detective showed up at his office. Apparently, the love they'd built over 14 months wasn't quite worth the legal exposure. Some people are only loyal when it's costless. I sold the house. I kept what was mine. I took a month off work and drove across 3 states by myself, which sounds like a small thing, but felt enormous. I ate at diners. I slept well for the first time in 2 years. I called my mother every other day. I remembered who I was before I spent a decade making myself smaller to fit inside someone else's comfort zone. People ask if I regret not confronting her the moment I found out, not exploding, not demanding answers, not forcing a scene. Every single time, the answer is no, because anger would have warned her. Silence built the case. I was always the steady one, the practical one, the man in the background who kept everything running while someone else took the credit and planned the exit. I was underestimated so consistently and for so long that it became the foundation of her entire strategy. That was her only real mistake. The quiet ones aren't passive. We're just precise about our timing. And I didn't have to destroy her. I just stopped standing between her and the consequences she'd already earned.